Okay, so get ready because we're going to deep dive into two like internet frenzies that at first glance seem like totally unrelated.
Right.
But by the end of this thing, you'll see that they actually both touch on some pretty big themes. You
Yeah.
know, public image and power dynamics,
Yeah.
and maybe even like a little bit of hypocrisy.
For sure.
We've got Blake Lively, who seems to be like shedding this queen bee persona for something.
Totally.
Well, a lot less polished, shall we say.
Definitely.
And then there's this whole story of Mahmoud Khalil,
Right.
this Palestinian activist and Columbia University grad who's like facing deportation under the Trump administration.
Yeah. Yeah.
So are these just like random trending topics, or is there something deeper going on here?
That's the question.
Yeah, that's what we're going to unpack.
Exactly. What's so interesting to me is how both of these situations kind of force us to like really confront our assumptions. You know, with Blake Lively, we're seeing this shift in public perception. Some people are extending sympathy. They're seeing her recent behavior as a sign of anxiety or like personal struggle.
Oh, interesting.
But others are saying, no, hold on, we got to hold her accountable for past actions, particularly how she treated Justin Baldoni.
Right.
It begs the question, how do we balance grace with accountability,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to public figures?
Especially with public figures, yeah.
It's tricky.
Yeah, it really is.
It's as everybody's watching.
It's like we're trying to reconcile the Blake Lively that like effortlessly commanded the red carpet with the one that we're seeing now.
Totally.
Like with the rambling speeches, the awkward interactions.
Yeah, exactly.
There's this clip of Anna Kendrick, her co-star in A Simple Favor 2, that's been like making the rounds online.
I saw that.
When asked about working with Blake Lively again, Kendrick just gave this super pointed, like, you know, sort of a thing.
Oh, really?
I was just like, whoa.
Yeah, and that comment speaks volumes, right?
Yeah.
It hints at tension behind the scenes and makes you wonder what really went down.
Yeah, what happened?
Yeah.
Then there's that speech that Blake Lively gave at the South by Southwest premiere.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Remember that?
Yeah.
She went on this whole tangent about capri and hats.
Uh-huh.
And it just felt so out of character for her.
It was strange.
It was really bizarre.
Yeah, for sure.
It was almost like painful to watch.
I know.
Especially knowing her history of, shall we say, not so nice behavior.
Right, right.
And this is where the whole Justin Baldoni situation kind of comes back to bite, right?
Oh, yeah, totally. People are bringing up that It Ends With Us promotional skit that Ryan Reynolds directed.
Oh, yeah?
Specifically, that scene with Ayasa where they seem to be like mocking Baldoni.
Uh-huh.
Now, some might argue that it was all in good fun, but...
But then that behind-the-scenes footage surfaced.
Oh, right.
And there she is, Blake Lively, present and laughing as they filmed the skit.
Oh.
It really throws a wrench in the whole she was unaware defense, doesn't it?
It really does. It suggests a level of complicity that's hard to ignore. And it brings us back to that question of accountability. Can we extend forgiveness without acknowledging the past wrongs?
Right.
Has Blake Lively even asked for forgiveness or shown remorse for her actions?
That's a really good question.
It's something to think about.
It's a tough one.
For sure.
And it's something you as the listener have to kind of grapple with.
Right.
Are we witnessing a genuine transformation or just a very carefully crafted attempt at like damage control?
Right, exactly.
So now let's shift gears to a story that at first glance seems completely different, the case of Mahmoud Khalil.
Okay.
But as we dig deeper, you'll see how it also ties into these themes of power dynamics and challenging authority.
I'm interested to see how what's crucial to understand here is that Khalil isn't just some random student on a visa.
Okay.
He's a green card holder.
Oh, wow.
Which means he has legal residency in the U.S.
Gotcha.
That makes his deportation all the more controversial and raises some serious questions about due process and potential political motivations.
Definitely.
It's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
It's not like he's just visiting. This is his home.
Right, he's been here.
He was born a Palestinian refugee in Syria. His family is originally from Tiberias, Israel, and he earned his master's degree from Columbia University.
Wow, impressive.
He was even a spokesperson for students during the pro-Palestinian protests at Columbia.
Okay, so he was involved?
He was vocal, but it's important to note that he didn't actually participate in the illegal barricade of Hamilton Hall.
Okay, so he was just a spokesperson.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
His student visa was initially suspended, but then reinstated because, get this, there wasn't enough evidence to link him to any illegal activity.
So they suspended it and then reinstated it?
Yep.
Wow.
And that's where it starts to get really interesting.
Let's get there.
Because despite not being arrested for anything related to the protests, ICE detained him and revoked his green card.
Oh, wow.
And to add another layer to this whole thing, his pregnant American wife was there when they arrested him.
Oh, my God.
It's a really tough situation.
It is a tough situation.
It's heartbreaking.
So they revoked his green card, even though he wasn't arrested.
Right.
And his wife, who's pregnant.
Yeah, an American citizen.
Is there when this all happened?
Exactly.
That's awful.
Adding that personal element just underscores the human cost of these decisions.
Yeah, for sure.
But beyond the emotional impact, it really raises the question, what was the basis for his deportation?
Yeah, like what was the reason?
If there wasn't enough evidence to even suspend his student visa, what suddenly justified revoking his green card and detaining him?
That's a good question. What did change?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
It seems like a bit of a mystery.
It really does.
Yeah, like they just shifted the goalposts.
Right.
Totally. No evidence for one thing, so they go after something else.
Right.
And what's even more baffling is that, like, even staunch Trump supporters like Candace Owens were initially like, yeah, okay, I'm on board with this, expecting, like, some clear-cut case of illegal activity that justifies this deportation.
Right.
But when no evidence surfaced, she starts voicing some serious concerns.
Yeah, she was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
This doesn't add up.
So you can almost hear the frustration in her voice when she confronts Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House.
Oh, yeah.
Directly asking him, what crime did Mahmoud commit to warrant his arrest and detention?
Point blank.
Yeah, and Johnson's response is so telling. Instead of, like, providing concrete evidence,
Right.
he launches into this tangent about his personal experiences at Columbia.
Oh, really?
Highlighting the dangers he faced from protesters, but never actually connecting any of it to Khalil's alleged wrongdoing.
It's like, what does that have to do with anything?
Right, it feels like he's trying to sidestep the issue.
Totally.
Like playing on emotions
Yeah.
rather than addressing the lack of evidence head on.
Exactly. Classic DC dip and twirl, as Owens calls it.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of fancy footwork and rhetoric, but no real substance.
Just like dancing around the issue.
Exactly.
So then we have Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary,
Oh, boy.
entering the fray.
Here we go.
She throws out these claims that Khalil distributed pro-Hamas flyers and, like, harassed Jewish American students, but refuses to release the flyers as proof.
What?
It's like, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
You're accusing him of distributing pro-terrorist material, but won't back it up with any evidence.
That's so shady.
That's not just suspicious, that's downright irresponsible.
It's like, what are you hiding?
Right.
If you had the proof, you'd be like, here it is, case closed.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not.
This lack of transparency just fuels the fire.
Totally.
Makes people question their motives even more.
For sure.
And then to add another layer of confusion to this already convoluted situation,
Oh, my God.
this rumor starts circulating that Khalil belonged to some group calling for the eradication of Western civilization.
Oh, wow.
And turns out that quote was completely misattributed.
What?
It actually originated from a Bangladeshi student group,
Oh, wow.
completely unrelated to Khalil.
That's wild.
This is where the danger of misinformation in the digital age becomes so apparent.
Oh, yeah.
Like a single misattributed quote can spread like wildfire, creating this false narrative.
Right.
That's hard to debunk even when it's blatantly untrue.
It's so dangerous.
So it's like a game of telephone gone haywire.
Totally.
And in this case, it has real-world consequences.
Yeah, for sure.
So here's where we stand. We have a green card holder facing deportation.
Right.
But there's no clear evidence of any crime.
Mm-hmm.
The accusations against him are either unsubstantiated or completely false.
It's like they're just making stuff up.
And the justifications provided are flimsy at best.
Yeah, it doesn't hold up.
And this is precisely what Candace Owens was highlighting.
What was that?
She posed these crucial questions that no one seemed able or willing to answer.
Like what?
Can you retroactively prosecute someone based on laws that didn't exist at the time of the alleged offense?
Good question.
Why wasn't similar action taken against students involved in violent BLM protests?
Yeah, why the double standard?
And why is there this perceived double standard when it comes to protecting students from different ideological backgrounds?
Right, like, are you only protecting certain viewpoints?
She even brought up Trump's own executive order from 2019,
Oh, yeah.
specifically designed to protect free speech on campuses, particularly conservative viewpoints,
Because they were feeling suppressed.
because of the perceived suppression they face.
That makes sense.
It's a crucial point if the goal is truly about protecting students and ensuring a safe learning environment for everyone.
Yeah.
Why was there such a stark difference in the approach to BLM protests compared to pro-Palestinian protests?
Right, like, what are the criteria here?
It makes you wonder if this case is truly about national security,
Mm-hmm.
or if it's about silencing dissenting voices, especially those critical of Israel.
Yeah, that's what it seems like to me.
And Owens takes it a step further, predicting that this incident will backfire spectacularly,
Oh, wow.
further alienating people from Israel. Her reasoning is that it creates this perception that the U.S. is willing to compromise its own principles in order to protect Israel's interests,
Interesting.
regardless of the cost.
Just shooting themselves in the foot.
And to illustrate that point, she brings up Netanyahu, who back in 2020 basically threatened to punish anyone who boycotted Israel.
Oh, wow.
She even connects this to the recent Gallup poll, showing record low support for Israel in the U.S.
So people are noticing.
It's a pretty bold claim,
Yeah.
but it does make you think about the potential long-term consequences of actions like this.
It's like a chain reaction.
It really highlights the potential disconnect between actions and outcomes.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you think you're achieving one thing, but then you end up creating the opposite effect.
Totally.
It's like a reminder that sometimes the most effective way to defend your position is through like open dialogue and reasoned arguments,
Right.
not by silencing those who disagree with you.
Exactly.
And it's so fascinating to me that both of these cases, despite their like surface differences, ultimately boil down to this central question of power.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Blake Lively, with her celebrity status
Yeah.
and her like very carefully crafted image, wields a certain kind of power.
Totally.
And then the government, with its legal authority and control over immigration, wields another.
Huge tower.
And in both situations, we're seeing this pushback against that power.
Yeah.
A demand for accountability and transparency.
People are demanding answers.
Yeah, it's like this ripple effect, right?
Uh-huh.
These seemingly isolated incidents spark these like larger conversations about how we navigate power dynamics,
Yeah.
both in our personal lives and within society as a whole.
For sure.
And they challenge us to think critically about who we choose to believe and why.
It's about questioning the narratives
Right.
that we're being fed.
Exactly. And that brings us back to you, the listener.
Right.
Because ultimately, it's up to each of us to sift through the noise,
Totally.
to question the narratives presented to us, and to form our own informed opinions.
You can't just blindly accept everything you hear.
Don't just accept things at face value, especially in this age of instant news and viral trends,
Right.
where misinformation can spread like wildfire.
It's so easy for things to get twisted.
Do your own research, seek out diverse perspectives, and don't be afraid to challenge the status quo.
Question everything.
These are like complex issues with no easy answers.
For sure.
But by engaging in these conversations,
Uh-huh.
asking tough questions, and by holding those in power accountable,
Mm-hmm.
we can move closer to a more just and equitable society.
Hopefully.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with some food for thought.
Okay. I like it.
Is this deportation truly about national security? Or does it set a dangerous precedent for suppressing dissent?
That's a big question.
What are the long-term implications for free speech and due process in America?
That's something to consider for sure.
And how can we ensure that our values are upheld even in the face of complex and controversial situations?
These are tough questions, but they're important ones.
They are.
So keep questioning,
Yes.
keep learning, and most importantly, keep speaking your truth.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And that's a wrap on this deep dive.
That was a good one.
Until next time, stay curious.